Okay, everything is set up. Now I just need to wait for the people to join the chat. If you're watching this in a rewind, you're not watching it live. Although I don't know how many people can watch it non-live because I usually delete them. But they're up on BitChute. If you want to see live streams that have been already published, you can go on BitChute and you can see them there. Now, it's kind of weird. I don't have an intro, so when I first get here, there's no one in the chat, but it seems that people are appearing now. I should get Antifa Romania to come into the chat with me once, to have a stream with two Romanians with different viewpoints. Although, like, from what I get, like, this is weird, right? Because when you see Antifa Romania, you think, like, German Antifa mindset or American Antifa mindset, which is more, like, corporate-oriented. I think I have more in common with Antifa Romania than people think. I mean, it's not my fault that he has more common sense views than the communists in the United States. Which here's something interesting, though, right? Like, if you look at human history, communism is more like a parasitic ideology. It requires something to be built so that they can have the revolution and take over. Like, communism doesn't build; it takes over a previous system. And if you look at it, like, the communism in China is very different to the communist in Soviet Union, and it's very different than the communist in other countries. And the reason for this is that they take a lot of elements from the previous culture. So it makes sense that, like, Romanian communism was very nationalistic. It was very patriotic. It focused on making a lot of children. Meanwhile, like, the communist in the United States is very corporate. It focuses a lot on women liberation and that type of thing. It's hilarious. But you notice it if you look a little bit. So not the ideology, okay? Like, not the words, the lecture, the philosophy. No, you look at the actions of the people once they get in power. Like, once you have, like, communists, not necessarily like getting in power as in winning elections or whatnot, but when they manage to get, like, a university position, and you look at how the people there behave, what they're advocating for, and the end results of that advocation. That's what I'm trying to say. Anyway, right. Yeah, we should schedule something, Antifa Romania. Like, hit me up on either Twitter or Discord or something, because I need to set it up before the stream. Google Hangouts isn't a thing. If Google Hangouts still existed, then it would have been just very easy. I would have just hooked you up and boom. But it's a little bit more difficult. Hello, Severian Knox. Thank you for the donation. So I want to talk a little bit about Blizzard today and Microsoft. If you know, they made a deal. And I genuinely think Microsoft played Blizzard dirty. The upcoming video on my secondary channel is going to be about that. You would notice that there's a lot of articles in the media. And every time they mention Blizzard, under any reason, like, oh, there's a new World of Warcraft patch, they would also say, so there's a new World of Warcraft patch from Activision Blizzard, the company that has been accused of sexual misconduct. And I'm thinking, like, dude, that is so weird, because they never do with anyone else the same, right? Like, they don't mention, it's like, and in today's news, the President of the United States is wishing everyone a happy 4th of July. I will remind people that the President of the United States has been accused by multiple people for sexual misconduct. In the meantime, we're going to go over to our anchor at CNN, the company who also has been accused of misconduct, to talk about the event. You know, like, they don't do that. So, if you actually follow the stocks, you look at the stock market, before the merger, before Microsoft bought Blizzard, you notice all of these outlets all of a sudden slandering, well, not slandering, but, like, hammering the point that Activision Blizzard, sexual misconduct, like every article. So the stocks go down, the stocks plummet, and it seems that Microsoft might have got like hundreds of $1 million better deal because the stocks plummeted. So is it possible that Microsoft got their friends in the media to do a little bit of damage to Blizzard to get the stocks to go down? I don't know, but it's an interesting thing, because I bet that now you won't see the media mention anything about these accusations. And they'll be like, oh, well, it's under new leadership. It's like, okay, it's under new leadership, but it's still the same people right now. At least for the next year or so. Apparently, Microsoft still maintains the same people. But yeah, it's just very convenient that a bunch of accusations come out and lower the stock value just before a major corporate buyout. And people should understand, like, major corporate buyouts, they're not like when you go to the store to buy bread, and it's like, okay, how much for the bread? $1. Okay, here you go. Give me the bread. No, like corporate accusations, acquisitions, they usually take years. So that's interesting, you know, like the corporation that wants to buy at Microsoft, they usually plan ahead and they're waiting for the right moment, and it is what it is. But yeah, I definitely think Microsoft played Blizzard dirty, and I definitely think that everyone that bought into these articles helped Microsoft, like they were corporate pawns in the game. And I don't even think like all journalistic outlets were bought or, you know, they were influenced by Microsoft. But it's important for a couple of them to be. Because if you know anything about the press, they're very lazy. They like to copy-paste articles. Like, there's an article coming up in Polygon, and Kotaku and the rest, Rock, Paper, Shotgun, will copy the article. Change a few words around, you know. It is what it is. But it's an interesting observation. All right, let's talk about, you know what, Antifa Romania, what do you want me to talk about? Let's do it like this. Let's change it up a notch. What do you want the subject for today to be? I bet it's something with the Russians, isn't it? Video 3D printing. So a lot of people tell me to get into 3D printing. The problem is I don't know what to 3D print. I mean, I don't want the harem of ushikushi anime and monster girls in my room, so yeah, I would probably do that. Like I would have like an anime collection. And the problem with 3D printing, can it paint your models, or do you need to paint them yourself? Like if you 3D print an Iron Man, is it just like white and you need to paint over it, or because I don't want to paint over it. I don't do the painting. I don't know anything about Yugoslavia. I'm sorry. Yeah, my knowledge is limited. 40K? What do you want me to talk about 40K? Apparently, Games Workshop realized that their new business model on shitting on the fans isn't working very well, so they might be backtracking a little bit. Didn't Russia say something about the final countdown? Yeah, okay, so I'll tell you what I think about Russia. Their problem with Kazakhstan is actually quite severe. So unless, I mean, there's two possibilities, okay? If they manage to get a lid on Kazakhstan really fast, then they can move over to Ukraine. Because they wanted to concentrate on Ukraine. And I think like what they want is, they don't want to invade Ukraine because they're not going to win that war. I mean, they're going to win the initial conflict, but they're not going to manage to keep Ukraine. Because the Ukrainian people aren't very fond of Russia, so it's costly. Like, from what I understand, you know, like if you have guerrilla warfare in Ukraine and resistance groups and whatnot, it would cost Russia too much per month, like certain tens, if not hundreds of millions per month to keep Ukraine. So they don't want to invade, but what they do want to do is they want to get a guarantee from NATO that they're not going to get Ukraine to join NATO. Now, this is a similar thing, because a lot of people are saying, oh, well, how would you like it if Mexico went China? What if Mexico goes China? Would the Americans like it? And the Americans are like, yeah, but the Ukraine, but Mexico will never go to China. And it's up to every country to decide if they want to join NATO or not. And I'm thinking like, okay, what about the Cuban Missile Crisis then? The Cuban Missile Crisis is literally the same thing, but in reverse. So during the Cold War, the Russians were putting missiles into Cuba. And the Americans said that if they keep doing that, there's going to be World War III. So the Russians pull out the missiles, and the Americans start sending spy planes and violating the Cuban airspace and all of that. I'm pretty much sure everyone knows it. It's literally like that, but in reverse now. It's exactly in reverse. Now, again, I don't really like casting moral judgment on countries, like on entire nations, because I don't think countries are good or evil. Like, every country is a shade of gray. From my point of view, like from what I would like Russia to stay the fuck away. That's what I would prefer. But I can understand the political motivations. I can, like, if I was the Russian leader, I would probably do the same. Like, you wouldn't want Ukraine to join NATO so that it has like military bases in it and whatnot. So whatever, that's my thought on it. It's something that I don't really like to talk about it because there's no way you can influence these outcomes. Like, there is literally nothing you can do. I mean, these events are playing out regardless if people say something. It's not like politics. I mean, in politics, you kind of can change something. So, for example, the authoritarian measures during the pandemic. If the public doesn't like them, they can change them. But whether or not Russia invades, I mean, there's literally nothing that I can do about it. I don't think it will invade. I prefer they don't. But, like, what do you want people to do? Just talking about it isn't going to help. So it is what it is. Except China. China is evil. No, it's the government of China, right? So the Chinese government, yeah. They're communists. It's kind of... Even with communists, there's certain shades of gray. But the problem with communists is that they look at people like a statistic and they make decisions without caring about human lives. Which is, well, a lot of other governments do that. But usually there's more consequences. Like if you're in America and you do that, the elections are coming. But in China, okay, whatever. Abdi Muhammad, the anti-Russia's guy. Russia's aren't bad. That's why Romania fought to get rid of Russian dominance. Well, pushing away like an invading force doesn't mean that the invading force is bad. I mean, we also fought against the Turkish Empire, the Ottoman Empire, right? I don't think Turks are bad. I mean, the people that were here, they were soldiers. They were sent to be here. I mean, Afghanistan fought against the American occupation. That doesn't mean that America is bad. It's just like humans are very territorial and these things happen. I don't know how else to say. It's like, yeah, there's shades of gray. I mean, they're human beings. They're not like demons from another plane or whatever. That's my point. There's no country that is inherently evil. I mean, well actually, I guess you can say that there are some countries more evil than others. But I wouldn't say like, okay, there's this nation of people that are irredeemable and everything they do is bad, or there's this nation of people that are good and everything they do is good. Come on. VPR agency side hustle, Eastern European solutions in 250 characters or less. I should do that, yes. The Russians should hire me. How did Romania not have the worst case of communism like China and Russia? Because Romanians didn't want it. It was an ideology that was forced on us using the Red Army. So before World War II, there were like maybe 1,000, 10,000 communists in the entire Romanian country. So like very, very few. And then the ideology was forced. So you can't force an ideology on people that don't want it. I mean, look at Afghanistan, right? Like the Americans go there with their gender diversity and their equity and inclusion programs and all of that. And the moment Americans go away, like all of that goes away. I mean, you can't really force people into something they don't want. It has to happen gradually. So that's the reason why the Russians couldn't force communism. But that doesn't mean like a lot of communist principles and mentality didn't stay here. I mean, we used to have a very strong Second Amendment, which is gone now. We used to have very low taxes, which is gone now. So, I mean, just because an ideology is gone doesn't mean that some elements of that ideology doesn't stay. Is the Russian government evil? I'm talking about the Russian people. So it depends. I mean, during the last polling, Putin still has overwhelming support in Russia. And a lot of historians, as well as a lot of geopolitical leaders, think that after Putin, there might be civil war in Russia. Because you need like you're never going to have democracy in Russia. I don't think so. Like full democracy because of the cultural makeup of Russia itself. It's a very large country. And the problem with the civil war in Russia is that it's the country with the most number of nukes. So it's kind of like, you look at the CEO of Twitter, you look at Jack Dorsey and you don't like him because, well, he doesn't stand up to free speech and he doesn't play the politics you want to play. and then he gets replaced and the new CEO is far worse. It's probably what's going to happen with Russia. Like, a lot of people complain about Putin, and they're like, oh, well, the Russian government is evil. But, like, after Putin, yeah, I don't know. Like, a lot of people are very optimistic about it. Anyway, right, let's go to some of the news today. Maybe I can find something more lighthearted to talk about. So Tim Pool is getting in a lot of trouble lately. Apparently, it's not just that he got swatted twice. He claims that he got DDoSed, and it's like a professional DDoS from what I gather by looking at his video. Apparently, he claims he got a man that broke into his house. So the way the man did it is that he came in, I think it was with Project Veritas, right? Because, like, from what I get, like, Tim Pool stands in a compound, and he's got, like, security and stuff. So there's this guy, and he comes up with the guests from Veritas and claims to be one of the guests, and he's going to go to jail now. But, like, this is something that keeps happening. And I don't know why it's happening to YouTubers, right? Like, it's not happening to journalists. It's not happening to people in the media. But it's happening to YouTubers a lot. Or maybe it does happen to journalists and people in the media, but they don't talk about it. Like, that might be a thing. Because it's not the first time when, someone goes in front of PewDiePie's house, or someone goes in front of Boogie's house and Boogie ends up in prison. It's like those things. Like, it happens very often. And it's kind of creepy, I guess, because to me, it's creepy when someone stops me on the street. And I got like 140,000 subscribers. But not only that, I'm also in Romania and I speak in English. So I don't have that many Romanian viewers. But it does happen, like someone stops you and it's like, oh, you're V. And I'm like, yeah. But it's kind of weird because, like, you try to separate this life from your public life, right? It's not like when you're a doctor and a patient stops you on the street. So it's kind of weird, but, like, I can't even imagine how it's like to have someone stop in front of your door. I mean, that is even weirder. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I need to say it's like, hey, it's not okay to go to YouTubers. Like, the problem is, because of technology, it makes the YouTuber seem very intimate to you. I mean, there's a lot of Twitch girls that have managed to convince guys that if they spend enough money on their channel, they're going to become, their potential girlfriends or whatnot. So the magic of technology can get some people to think that the YouTuber and them are like friends. Because you see his face on your computer screen. You hear his voice. You can interact with him in the chat like Rick is doing right now. So it might appear that it's kind of like your friend, right? But the problem is, just because that appears doesn't mean you get to go to his home. Like visiting his place. Because you may get in trouble with the authorities. And, it's one thing, I mean, it's creepy. Don't get me wrong, like, it's not illegal, for example, to go and knock at PewDiePie's door. But the question is, like, what are you trying to achieve? Like, are you trying to freak the guy out? Are you trying to, it's not going to be well received. He's not going to be happy to see you. He's not going to get a bulge in his pants and like, oh my god, you're happy to see me, aren't you? No, like, you're going to creep them out, the YouTuber, I mean, right? Like, they're not going to be happy. But with Tim Pool, from what I understand, it's like restricted property, like you're getting past security. I mean, that is like definitely a crime. So anyway, my point is that if it was a troll, like someone that's like, look, I took a camera. Well, congratulations, you won the Darwin Award, because now you're going to prison. And going to prison for burglary is really bad. So, I don't know what these people are trying to do. Because I think that's literally what he was trying to do. It's probably a Tim Pool fan. It's probably someone that likes Tim Pool, and it's like, okay, I'm going to go there. I'm going to surprise him. It's going to be like, Uberashung, and Tim Pool is going to be like, oh, why don't you come on my show? Tell me how you broke into my house. It's... I mean, if you do that, then more people will try to break in. Like, it's ridiculous. So, yeah, I mean, in the case of Tim Pool, what can I say? I mean, it's one of the disadvantages of moving out in the middle of nowhere. Because, like, this doesn't happen to Joe Rogan. If you're still in a city, you get more security. I mean, you can call the cops immediately, but if you're in the middle of goddamn nowhere with a mansion, I mean, what can you do? My advice to Tim Pool, and everyone knows it, like not talk about it. It's literally the only thing. Just that, but because you don't talk about it, doesn't mean that you don't do anything about it. Like, no, go to the cops, call the authorities, hire detectives, like do all of that. But don't talk about it, because you're giving these people what they want. Like, they want to see how he squirms and how he suffers. Like, I'm willing to bet there's discords of at least a couple hundred people who are laughing about Tim Pool, going on and talking about it. So you're giving them what they want. But yeah, what can you do? And the thing is, like, Tim Pool is like, oh, I want people to know that it's bad. It's like, yes, we know. We're aware. Let's see. If Tim only had been put in a self-defense situation, that would be fun. I don't think it would be fun. I mean, it would be fun. Like, here's the thing, when you listen to it, like when you're someone that watches this from afar, yeah, sure, it's entertaining if it was a movie, but it's real life. I mean, there's real people involved, so I don't know if it would be fun. Yeah, and Tim Pool as well, like the way he exaggerates, is like, there are people trying to get us killed. It's like, come on. Because it's civil war, they're trying to take me out. Like, dude, no one is sending Agent 47 after. Like, I get it that you can say they're trying to put you in danger, alright, but like, they're not trying to assassinate you. It's like, there's no Hasashin coming. It's like, what? Well, yeah, him talking about it is the worst decision he made. Yeah, because now everyone is going to be like, oh, so it's working. And again, especially when you talk about it and you're exaggerating, it's like, oh, it's civil war and they're coming after me. And it's like the Hasashin. Come on. I mean, I get it. It's bad. All right? It's horrible. But it's not, like, put a lid on it. All right? Like, it is what it is. I mean, I hope they catch the guy who did it, but it's also possible that there's more than one, and they're from outside the US, so what can you do then? I mean, like, getting sympathy with people is what he's trying to do, but, like, people are already sympathetic. Like, I don't know how much more sympathy can you get. Like, there's nothing that someone like me can do to help him out, so. Alright. I'm going to tell you something else now. And unfortunately, I can't show you videos about this on YouTube. Because the content is problematic. So, I want you to imagine. Alright? Like, close your eyes. And I'll take you on a mystical journey. Which happened in the Italian legislative parliament. Okay? So, I want you to imagine the Italian lawmakers, like old people, old ladies and whatnot, and they're all on VR. They're all on Zoom. Okay, they're having a Zoom call because they want to stay safe and stay healthy. And on this Zoom call, I assume by accident, someone plays a clip of a user called Juicy Neko #1. So it's spelled with a 0. It's Juicy Neko with a 0, #1. And in this clip, you can see Tifa from Final Fantasy. But Tifa, I think I can show you Tifa so you can understand what we're talking about. In case you're one of those people you don't know. So Tifa is a very famous video game character. You can find her on the PlayStation in the Final Fantasy game. This is Tifa. So the clip from Juicy Neko #0 had Tifa, but it's not like the Tifa you're used to in the game. I mean, Tifa is a girl that likes to work out. And in that game, she seemed a little bit out of shape because she was gasping for breath. Like she was, like she like her lungs weren't getting enough oxygen. And behind her there was a man. We can't see his face, but I assume it was Cloud from Final Fantasy. And that clip was shown for a while until it had to be taken down. Now, I can only show you on YouTube the facial expression, the facial feature of some of the lawmakers as they are seeing this clip from this gentleman by the name of Jusineko, number one. Oh, it was though Yamate. Like I think she was enjoying it. She wanted more. I don't know how it's how you say more in Japanese, but it wasn't a Yamate. Okay, so you can see here. I cut the clip, and you can see the Italians, like this gentleman especially is my favorite reaction. Like he is having a look of great interest. Like he noticed something that he likes. What is the name of this MP? I can't really make it out because it's not 4K resolution. It's not HD. This lady, just so you know, it's an avatar. Like it's not her actual facial expression. Unfortunately, we're not going to see her initial reaction. Oh yeah, it's with Moto. Yeah, it's with Moto. Yes. It wasn't Yamate, it was Moto, yeah. Alright, the weaves in the chat help me out. Yeah, I can't enhance, Brandon. I'm sorry. It's because you don't give me super chats, I cannot enhance. So, of course, Juicy Neko number one came out from the shadows and shilled his Patreon, and you can see the full video in 4K HD resolution. Yeah, the Italians didn't really appreciate it. Apparently, they're not connoisseurs of Juicy Neck. I gotta say though, like the guy who played the video, truly a man of culture. Like it wasn't any of the basic stuff. Tifa is a really good choice. Would have been funnier if he had gone with the succubus or something, but still, I mean, hey. So, yeah, I mean, it happened. You can Google it. You can Google Italian Final Fantasy. Just put Italy, Final Fantasy, and hit enter. And you can see a lot more than I can show you. I see that Brandon is giving me money so I can buy better enhancement equipment. You can't get any better marketing for a non-safe for work artist. You can actually. You can. I think there was a Brazilian lady who did lewd cosplay, and the Pope liked her Instagram. So, God's vicar on earth, the Pope, has liked her Instagram. I'm curious if that means her soul goes to heaven, though. I mean, it is controversial. But, hey, like maybe the Pope appreciated seeing a little bit of youth and beauty. I mean, it is a sin though. Like this is something that is interesting in Christianity. I mean, just by seeing it is a sin, right? Because you can sin with the eye. It's you can lust. So just lusting is sinful. It's not just like the act. So even if you're just seeing and you're not interacting with it, it's still problematic. So that's why people didn't like what the Pope did. I can't send you the link on YouTube. Just Google Italy, Final Fantasy, press enter. It's on the top search results. Everyone's talking about it. It's not an esoteric thing. And this is not the first time it happened. I mean, my God, there are so many Zoom accidents that I could make a 1-hour video, but unfortunately YouTube would delete it. I mean, there's this. I remember there's this teacher. And they're having like a Zoom class. This is happening, I believe, at the beginning of 2020. And there's this teacher, and she's screaming that the kid is falling asleep. I assume it was in the early morning. And it's like, Brandon, wake up! Don't you dare fall asleep during the class! Brandon, someone wake Brandon up! And while she is chastising Brandon, Johnny, who was sitting there, God, has his mom completely naked walk into the room with the laundry. And this mother is like a massive corporeal manifestation. Like, I want you guys to imagine. And, you know, like, you see the cellulitis and you see everything. And this is on Twitter, you know? And yeah, like, she just casually walks in the room in front of the camera, drops the laundry, and walks out. And it's like that. There's just so many of these. There's another one in Romania. Like, this also happened. There's this university professor while talking at medicine, and for no reason whatsoever, like, he has this camera open as he's taking a shit. So he's holding the lecture and he's getting up, and you can see him reaching for the toilet paper as he wipes his tushy, and then he flush. But the monster doesn't wash his hands as he walks away with the laptop. And, like, no one knows why, because it was, like, so bizarre. Like, why did he do it? Like, why? Because, again, you don't get to see anything. Like, that I think, like, I could even show it on YouTube, because there's nothing, you know, like, there's no visuals of anything problematic in it. But you get from the position, from the ambience, from the decor, from the background, you get what's happening, right? From the reaching to the toilet paper. I mean, all of these things lead you to the actual event, but there are so many recordings of things that happened on Zoom. There was another one also from Italy. Like, a lot of them come from Italy. There's another conference, and you have like 20 or 30 people. But a person that can squint, a person that can make out what's happening, there's like an elderly man. I assume he was a politician. So there's this elderly politician, and he's got this mamacita in his lap. I mean, this young girl, I think she's like in her early 20s. She's got Botox. I think she also has some breast implants. Like, from the way she looks of it, like, it's kind of like this Barbie doll. So this Barbie doll is standing in the arms of this senior gentleman, this politician, and he starts kissing her on the neck, and then he goes lower, and he reveals the demonetization meat, if you know what I mean, like the source of channels that go under on YouTube. Like, he pulls it up. It's kind of like how should I describe it? Alinity wardrobe malfunction. Let's put it like that. He does the Alinity wardrobe malfunction to this lady and buries his face in it and tries to imitate a motorboat, right? So it's like, and from Italy on Zoom, on national television. I don't remember the Jeffrey 2 minutes that, I don't know. But, like, again, all of these things are coming out from Italy. I don't know why. I genuinely don't know why. Like, other countries, you know, they have like one or two. But with Italy, it's always from the politicians. I don't know if it was his mistress. I don't know the relationships. Like, all I know is that if you squint your eyes, you get to see this. It's like for 5 or 6 seconds that it happens. But, I mean, what can you do about it, you know? It's now alive, it's on the air, it's on the internet. The only thing you can do is to censor. Isn't that normal in Europe? Yes, but not in front of the camera, not in public. Jesus. Like, don't get me wrong, what he did is perfectly normal and healthy for a man to do. Like, I'm not judging anything, you know, like his tastes, like, okay, I get that. What I don't understand is, like, why do you do it on Zoom? And what I don't understand even further is, like, why do you do it on Zoom in front of national television when it's recorded? That's what I don't get. But other than that, no, I understood everything. Like, it's not very complicated. I think if I can understand medicine, I can understand that as well. Well, I mean, you know, it's not fair to criticize only Italy now that I think about it. You do have CNN. I mean, there were happenings at CNN that were a little bit more descriptive than that. Well, what was the... Oh, yeah. So if you actually Google CNN and porn, you'll notice that they played hardcore for 20 minutes on their show. This happened, I believe, in 2018. So it's not like CNN is free from controversy. And again, like, it doesn't happen on Fox News. It doesn't happen on what other evil stations are there? One American News Network. Like, they don't do that. But it's CNN out of all the places. Yeah, Tubin is a CNN report. Yes. The interesting thing is, like, but my favorite thing when this happens is that you get to see the faces of the other people in the call on Zoom. And when it happened on CNN, I think there were like 3 Jewish ladies. And they were in their, I think, like 60s to 70s. And their facial features showed confusion mixed with horror. As Tubin does his thing on Zoom. He does his performance. And their facial features are etched into my retina. Like, I wish I had the link so you guys can see it. But that is the best part of the entire video. It's the way those ladies are looking at it. One lady, in my opinion, had like a glimpse of interest. It's like, you know, like that thing when you see something that's interesting, like, I see. You know, like you notice, for example, a free parking space, right? So you're driving with your car, and there's cars everywhere, and at that point it's like, oh, look, a parking space. You're like, yeah. I love the slow... There's also the slow build-up. I forgot to mention, like... Like when you look at the thing, like, there is this slow build up where he reaches towards the hand moisturizer. I mean, you gotta give props. The man respects himself. So there's like a build up where you can see him, like, and he doesn't know he's on call, and he reaches towards the hand moisturizers, but he reaches like very very slyly. It's like a very very slow, timid reach. And you may think it's like, okay, well, maybe it's a glass cleaning lotion and he wants to clean his glasses. I mean, you know, when you clean your glasses vigorously, from the shoulder up, the motion is the same. So it's easy to confuse, right? Because it's still like a up and down motion. So if you don't have the camera and you don't see the person actually cleaning their glasses, like from the shoulder up, it looks the same, right? The hand moves in the same direction. But, you know, it didn't take a while for the ladies on the camera to know what was actually going on, because his glasses were still on his nose. So it's like, okay, well, if his glasses are on his nose, what is he cleaning? Dank emails his dangly bits at everyone. Yeah, so the thing with Count Dankula is, like, he messages me and he shows me the scrotum. And I'm like, why are you showing this to me? What does it mean? Like, I was trying to find meaning in it. I was like, why would you show me that? What is the purpose of it? Like, what does it accomplish? And unfortunately, to this day, I do not know. Why would a man show me his testicles? And they were presented to me like he was holding them, like cupping them gently in his hand as he took the picture. And that was what I saw. And I was like, why though? Like, what does it mean? Why? Yes. Not even the penis, it's just the scrotum. Like, who does that? So yeah, I didn't understand the purpose of the Dragon Balls, but I wonder, like, if you collect all 7, do you get to make a wish? Like there must be like pictures of them. Like you get like 3 pictures of them and then another half picture and you get all 7 and you get to make a wish. Is that maybe this is what it is? Speaking of Dragon Ball, my god, like I don't understand. The manga is now so overrated. Like the entire Dragon Ball, it doesn't have any overarching story. Like who does Dragon Ball? Akira Toriyama. He's got absolutely no more creativity. Like the only thing he does is like, all right, let's create a new villain so that the heroes can beat him up. That's it. Like if it wasn't Dragon Ball, if it was any other shonen, it would have been canceled by now. But that's literally it. I mean, there's no more character development. There's no more overarching story. There's no more overarching plot. It's just like, oh, look, this guy wants to be the most powerful. He's now the most powerful. Let's beat him up. Oh, now this guy wished to be the most powerful. He's now the most powerful. Let's go beat him up. It's literally like porn, but instead of porn, you get shonen. It's kind of like, you know, like when you watch those really bad films, and it's like the girl wakes up and she can't open the pickle jar, and she asks a man to do it. He opens the pickle jar for her, and then they have the fiki fiki. Or there's a door ring and she goes to the door and opens the door and there's a vacuum cleaner guy and she really wants to buy the vacuum but she has no money, so they do the fiki fiki. That's pretty much what it is. That's what it is. But instead of like the fiki fiki, you have like people fighting. So like it needs to be a little bit of plot to get you interested, and then they're having a fight. I'll respond to it, Antifa Romania. Thank you. I'm not watching One Piece. It's not that I don't believe it's a good story. I trust you. I think One Piece is an excellent story. But One Piece doesn't give me super chats, okay? Like, I need to make a living. I need to work. I need to pay the mortgage. I'm a slave to the banks. I'm starting to become a leftist. Although, I gotta say, there is a transformation within Tim Pool. Because I've been following Tim Pool from the beginning, and a lot of people notice that. So, from being an anti-gun, you know, pro-left type of person, bigger government, you know, that type of thing. Now he lives alone in a mansion. He's like, don't step on me. I have guns. Like, pro-police, getting this man arrested. So yeah, I mean, the radicalization is almost there. What else does Tim Pool need in order to be like completely right wing? He needs a tractor, doesn't he? Like, if he gets a tractor and finds Christianity, then the transformation is complete. He needs to find Jesus, and he needs to have a tractor. What does hair have to do with it? Yeah, I really hated when people say, oh my god, like, Tim Pool is a fence sitter. Like, he's sitting on the fence. It's like, on what issue? Like, if you give him the political compass test, he's probably right-wing libertarian right now. Like he's small government, leave me the fuck alone. I mean, well, the thing with the police, it's kind of complicated. It's complicated. We're talking about Tim Pool, it's complicated. Well, the thing with the cops is, like, he doesn't appreciate the fact that the officers didn't just... like the way the officers reacted, right? Because, like, he expected that they would react differently, I guess. So he was a little bit upset, but I think he is pro-cops, yeah. Like, he's still pro-cops and whatnot. So... Tim is already religious? Get the fuck out. Is he genuinely, like, a Sunday churchgoer? I'm curious now. Like, does he find Jesus? Tim sits on the fence with a rifle in his hands, yeah. It makes sense, though. Like, there was that meme with the anarcho-communist, and there's a phone call, and it's like, Mr. Anarcho-Communist, we're sad to say that your uncle died, and you've just inherited his wealth of $10 million. And the anarcho-communist, like, slowly turns into an anarcho-capitalist. It's so funny. The dude keeps saying abolish the police. Does he? I haven't followed him. Like when I was following him, he never said abolish the police. He's pro abolishing the police. Okay, well. I guess it needs a little bit more time. The thing though, like, think about it. The abolish the police is the mindset between the rural community and the cities. So if you're in a rural community, like let me put it this way. I don't think like abolishing the cops is a left-wing, right-wing dichotomy necessarily. If you are in a mansion like Tim Pool is, and you have like your gated security, and you have like a community of people, yeah, you don't give a fuck about cops. I mean, you don't care. But if you're in a city and your car keeps being broken into and you have a store and people keep shoplifting, yeah, you want cops. So like wanting cops and police really depends, not necessarily on your ideological compass, but it depends on how much it affects you. And if you're a person like it's 1 hour away from the nearest city, then you probably form a community with your neighbors anyway, and you're helping each other out. Like you have your neighbor's phone call on speed dial, and every time like something bad happens, you call your neighbor or your neighbor calls you. So you don't really need the police in that situation. I mean, the Amish, for example. I mean, they're probably forming a community, and anything bad that happens within that community is solved by the community. Now, if you live in a city and you're like in a high rise or you're in a bad neighborhood or anything like that, yeah, you like the cops. Because like even if you were to like first of all, it's very difficult to form a community in a city, right? Like even if you know your neighbors from the tenant, you don't know everyone from the street. And it's like if my neighbor from my nearest apartment block is calling me, like I don't even know the guy. I don't fucking care, you know. Like he wouldn't probably come to me. So like, what do you want me to do? Call the cops. And it's a different mindset. The cops are state enforcers. The value of the police depends on the value of the politician. So, I think that might be okay. A lot of the cops in the US were right-wing. And I think like this is why they got attacked so much by the politicians and the media. It was to change police chiefs, to change police commissioners, to make them more right-wing. To make them more left-wing, to make them like activists for the left. If you look at the UK, like the police are highly ideologic. Like the police aren't politically neutral. Like no, they go out and they support whatever leftist cause is there to support, like a certain minority group here. They have rainbow flags, they point their car rainbows and whatnot. Like they're very politically active. And in the UK, you don't really see articles slandering the cops. Like the Guardian or the BBC doesn't really go after the cops because it's like the cops are already politically engaged. But in the US, you had a lot of cops that weren't politically engaged. I mean, they were like a neutral institution. And because of that, you know, you had the abolish the police movement and a lot of cops just quit, laid off. And now you have like all of these new cops. It's kind of like in RoboCop, the third episode, the third movie, where you have like all the cops quitting and now the new cops are like inexperienced, usually bad people who just want to have like a quick pay. They don't really care about their job. I mean, recently in the US, they complained about a case where there was a burglary and the cops didn't respond because they were playing Pokemon Go. And I'm thinking it's like, okay, well, can you blame them? I mean, if they do respond and things escalate, it can turn into another Kenosha. And they can get fired. And they can get protesters in front of their house. If they do nothing, they still get their paycheck. So from the perspective of the cop, you can do nothing or you can do something and you can risk getting into trouble and getting fired. Which one is it? What are you going to do? Your shtick now is that everyone needs to arm themselves to protect themselves, even in cities. That is a dumb take. So the reason it's a dumb take is like, okay, you can arm yourself, you can protect yourself, and then you can become like Kyle Rittenhouse. You get dragged through court, you get to spend time in jail, You get all of this and not even that. It's like even if you arm yourself, like you're not allowed to defend property in some states. So if someone wants to break into your store, like you're not allowed to stop them. You still need the cops because the law is made in a certain way. So no, that's not a solution. That is so dumb. No, you need the cops, and you need proper cops. Like they need funding. They need to be able to. I mean, even the word defund the police. You can notice it's an academic term, right? Like defund. Have you spent time with people from the hood? Because I have. I grew up in the hood. Like most of the people don't use words like defund. They use words like cops are bastards, fuck the cops, fuck the police, fuck the pigs. That's what they use, right? They don't use the word defund. That is a very bureaucratic word. That is a very bourgeois term. So you kind of notice that this is not really a movement from grounds up. It's an intellectual movement. It's not the people being affected, right? Because you don't have like the academics living in the hood. So what can you do about it? It is also like class warfare, like people say. I mean, like someone like Tim Pool, yeah, they can get a mansion and they can have security, but if you're like a poor person living in a ghetto, okay, good luck. You're on your own. In New York City, it's actually much easier to get a weapon license for a store than your apartment. I also think it's all right. It shouldn't be like that. I mean, it should be both. Like you should be able to have a license for a weapon both for your apartment and for your store. But I guess like most people don't really do home invasions. Like it's not something that happens that much. It does happen, but not that much. Like most people do rob stores. Especially because the current ideology is like, fuck private property, so. In the UK, they do nothing, and if you try to defend yourself, they will arrest you and allow the perpetrators to harass you. Yeah, so the law in the UK is really messed up, because I was thinking, it's like, all right, let's assume that I live in a dangerous neighborhood. Like, what can I do to defend myself? And apparently the answer is absolutely nothing. So I thought like, okay, well, can you get like a dog? Like get a dog in the UK and like you have your dog in your yard and anyone that tries to break into your yard is going to have to deal with the dog. Like that is the minimum, right? Like that is like the basic thing you can do. Apparently no. Like you're not even allowed to have a dog. Like you need a license. If you want to have like a big dog, you need a license for it. And if the dog actually bites the home invader, you're to blame. And I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ. I mean, it's almost like the criminal underbelly managed to get control of the legislative and only made rules to benefit the burglars and what. There's even like that case where a burglar breaks into a house and the owner physically restricts him until the cops arrive. And then the burglar sues the guy for injuring him. And he wins. And I'm like, get the fuck out. Like, who are these judges? Like, do these judges not realize that, okay, if you do this, what if it happens to you one day? Like, do you want to be in that position? Defund the police and also defund politicians so that they can't hire private security. Oh yeah, that's a good point. Why does no one say defund the politicians? Did you notice that? It's like, it's always billionaires and billionaires that are the problem. But no one says defund the politicians. Like, do the politicians really need the money that they're making? I'm not saying politicians shouldn't be paid, but do they need to be paid that much? Can't they be paid a little bit less and still do their job? And not to mention like all the perks and privileges, like what a lot of politicians do, and this is worldwide. They're going to say, all right, let's get a plane ticket to a different country. Like, for example, let's say a politician wants to have a holiday in Japan. So they will schedule, like, they may schedule a 5-minute meeting with someone in Japan. And they go there, they stay at the meeting, and then they spend the entire day. And they do that on the taxpayer money. Because it's a business meeting now. It's disgusting. It's the same process as tyrants releasing criminals to celebrate coronations. Criminals are part of the system because fear makes people meek. I don't know if it's that, but it used to be a medieval thing as well. So I told the story with Vlad the Impaler before, but Wallachia, which is part of Romania, became a very dangerous place because you had different kings that would go on the throne. Like the Ottoman Empire would name would give the blessings of a noble to become the voivod, which is like the king. And they would go on the throne, they would make a lot of money, and after 1 or 2 years they would abdicate and someone else would go on the throne. So the nobility loved that because it allowed for a lot of corruption. But what also happened is when you had someone going on the throne, the dungeons would open. So they would let all the prisoners out. And because of that, you now had very strong career criminals, like people who rob people on the main road. And it was so bad that merchants weren't able to sell their wares on the market unless they hired security. And because of that, like all the prices went up. So it was really bad. And then when Vlad Tepes, so when Dracula comes on the throne, one of the first thing he does is he has like this big banquet where every criminal was invited, and he locked them up and set fire to it and had riders run around and fire arrows at anyone trying to escape. And this is besides the impalement for theft. Because you look at it and it's like, wow, like impalement for theft, that is really unusual. I mean, that is a very harsh punishment, like really, for stealing. But the situation was getting that severe that it was crippling not only the nation economy, but people were dying because of hunger. I mean, think about it. Like, you can't buy stuff from the market because everything is more expensive because the merchant needs to hire like 2 or 3 extra guards. And the merchant himself can be put out of a business because someone can steal all his wares. And it wasn't like in medieval time you had insurance or anything like that. So there were people with lives destroyed. And that's why like there were such huge punishments for theft during Vlad's reign. How would they make money as a king? Why would they abdicate? You kind of glossed over that part. Well, making money as a ruler is always easy. You make a lot of friends. You do a lot of businesses. I don't even know the medieval economy that well and how it worked. But I assume like if you were the king, it's probably like now, like you would get property. Like you could give yourself property basically, right? So there would be like a castle and you could give it yourself. It's kind of like in Game of Thrones. It's like you can make yourself the owner of Harrenhal. Why would they abdicate? It's because they would pay the Ottomans money to be on the throne. So like let's say you have like a noble which isn't very wealthy, right? So he goes to the Sultan, gives him money, like pays a fee. The Sultan makes him the leader. He goes on the throne. He gives himself some free property and he gives himself some perks and privileges, and he gets like a lot of honor for his family because he was a voivod. And then he abdicates. Why? Because he had an understanding with the Sultan. And the understanding was for only a couple of years. So he abdicates, and then the next guy comes up. I mean, it's not the same, I guess, like in today's world, but it's still similar. Like anyone that manages to get through power, like any person that manages to get in a legislative position can give themselves perks and whatnot. Like, for example, if you're right now in the U.S. Parliament, you get insider trading. So you can play the stock market. Even though it's illegal, I mean, you can just get someone else to do it for you. So, like, there's a lockdown coming up, right? Like, that your party members are talking and they're going to have a lockdown. Well, now you can short sell GME. So you tell all your friends, like, okay, buy a lot of stocks in pharmaceutical companies and sell everything from tech companies, or sell everything from, like small mom and pop store and whatnot. And you make a lot of money because you have insider knowledge. Selling patents was also a great source of income for rulers. Usually America kind of changed that in their constitution. Was Vlad a popular ruler in his time? Okay, so almost every ruler gets to be popular. Like, even in medieval time, you needed to have peasants on your side in order to rule. Like, the idea of a ruler that, like, everyone hates, but he manages to maintain power with an iron fist, that rarely happens in history. But Vlad was kind of popular with the peasants, very unpopular with the nobles. Because the nobles didn't appreciate an actual leader on the throne. Like, they just wanted to make money. They didn't want wars. They didn't want problems with the Ottoman Empire. They just wanted like the current system to be left alone and just make a lot of cash. The royal family in the UK is still the largest landowner. I didn't know that. Do they own more land than Bill Gates? That's a good question. Yeah, Vlad was not popular with he had some nobles on his side. The thing with Vlad is that he also had an army of mercenaries, which kept the nobles in check. So, the problem with the mercenaries is that when you stop paying them, they don't really have your back. People tend to love those that are strong and hate those that are weak in politics. That is absolutely true. Like, I noticed that voters will tolerate almost anything. So the people will tolerate almost any draconic legislation, but what they do not tolerate is a weak politician. So if they look at the politician and they view him as weak, voters don't like that. I mean, you can look with Biden's approval votes, right? The reason he lost a lot of approval wasn't because of his hard stances on the pandemic and the lockdown. That's actually the thing that got him approval. So that's actually what made him popular. The thing which made him unpopular was his weakness. His weakness in Afghanistan, his weakness when he said, oh, well, the pandemic can't be solved at a government level, at a federal level. Like every time he showed weakness, that's when people stopped liking him. So it's very interesting. Like you get all of these politicians that you would think like, oh, wow, like how is it going to get away with this? And they do get away with that. What they don't get away with is when they show that either they're not strong on their principles or they're weak or they allow something bad to happen and they don't do anything. Didn't the upper class have news networks? They could debunk Vlad. Yeah, they could have debunked him and got impaled. That's why Stalin was loved. Well, the thing with Stalin is that you need to also look at the historical context. I mean, okay, so you're in Russia and you have the Germans coming in, right? The Nazis are invading and they're plundering the land and they're killing people, and you know all these horror stories. And the only person that can help you out is Stalin. And yeah, I mean, Stalin pushes them back, manages to gain a victory. Yeah, like people will love him. It doesn't really make sense, but it's true, right? And not only that, like the people in that particular time era, they were used to seeing death. So not only did they see death from World War I or at least heard about it, they would see the death from World War II. They would experience famine more often than we do. So they were used to it. Like they knew that it's happening. So it wasn't that shocking when Stalin's policies would end up with people dying. My bad, sorry. They like Lenin. Yeah, but like, when you look at Lenin, if you compare Lenin with what it is today, yeah, it's horrible. But if you compare Lenin with the Russian aristocracy, I mean, my God, like the Russian aristocracy was probably some of the most disconnected aristocracy in the world. They would allow their peasants to starve to death while they had lavish parties. And even in medieval time, like that pisses people off. Like the Romans came up with bread and circus concept, which works even to today. The people leave you alone if you give them bread and you give them circus. The moment you stop giving them circus, they start asking questions. It's like, okay, but why is this politician making so much money and I don't? Right? So the circus is mostly for the middle class and the bread is for everyone. Like anyone that doesn't have food on the table gets really angry really fast. It's kind of like an army marches on its empty stomach. An army marches on its stomach, and it's the same with like the people. The people start marching on the streets when they don't have food on the table. So you have like the Russian aristocracy, and they keep people incredibly poor. And we're talking about poor by other European standards. I mean, if you look at the peasants from Russia compared to the peasants from London, who was going through the Industrial Revolution, I mean, it's night and day difference. So, and by the way, even then, like people knew. sure, the information traveled slower, but like people would still know about the state of the world. And they would obviously be vindictive about it. And when you look at it, it's like, okay, so we're starving, and the politicians, they're not only doing well, but they're throwing parties every day. And it's like these luxurious parties, and like they're gorging themselves. And that's another thing that people hate. It's like the lack of solidarity. I mean, even in countries like Zimbabwe and Africa, like you do have the politicians being very rich, but they try not to display it in front of the public. Like they don't want the press to constantly report on their wealth, and they don't want people to report on their mansions and whatnot, because it breeds resentment. All you know about the Russian aristocracy, you know from the communists? No, dude. These are like historical explanations that are true all across the world. I mean, you can. It's kind of easy to even compare the Industrial Revolution, which, by the way, I should also know from the communists, and the communists really hated the Industrial Revolution. But like the Industrial Revolution gave you a better lifestyle and made sure that less peasants suffered than you have with the situation in Russia. I mean, in Russia, you had famines. You didn't have famines in the UK. Well, I mean, England. You did have, like, the potato famine, but that's something else, right? And you can understand why the Irish were upset about it. But, again, it's like the same way the Irish were upset about the potato famine, well, everyone in Russia was upset about it. And the thing with Russia is, like, also the price of booze. Like, the Tsar controlled the vodka, and he kept increasing the price, and that's another thing. Like any political leader in Russia, even today, that increased the price of vodka artificially. So any political leader that taxed vodka abdicated or was made to resign within 2 years. Like, look at it historically. It's true. Everyone that fucked with booze in Russia. In fact, if you look at when Russia invaded Crimea, and you have like all of the economical austerity measures, and Putin decided to, like make a lot of things more expensive and cut into people's wages, he never touched vodka. Like that is the one thing that no Russian leader wants to do, like mess with vodka. There was no communism during the Industrial Revolution. Are you insane? Communism literally spread through the factories. Like the reason Romania didn't have communism, and we only had like 1,000 communists or so in the entire country, is because we didn't have that many factories. Like communists, even in the US, tried to do it. Like through the factories they were operating. And the only reason it didn't spread was because of the wealth. Like there was social mobility in England. So in Britain, you could like be a peasant farmer, and you could get a job in a factory, and you wouldn't get rich, but you could have enough money so that your kids have a better life. So there was social mobility in Britain. But you don't have that in Russia. In Russia, you still have like the old aristocratic system. If you're born a peasant, you die a peasant. So that's why, even though you had like more communists agitating in Britain, you don't, well, in the English Empire, you don't really have communism, right? Because like you don't have enough people to be upset with their lifestyle. And the communism in Russia actually came from Germany, believe it or not. Like Lenin, if you look it up, like Lenin was trained in Germany, and he was financed by Germany. And this was to destabilize World War I, because Russia was in World War I, and this was like a German psyop to get Russia to get out of the war. And it worked. But the sentiment was there. Like you can't push communism if you don't have a sentiment. And the sentiment existed. Like people were very livid with the aristocracy and what they were doing, and they were tired of it. The Russian aristocrats were better than the Soviets took over, according to Alexander Solzhenitsyn. Oh yeah, they were better, but like the life of the average person, it depends where you're located and what you're doing, could have been improved. So that's why even today you have like many Russians that still like Stalin. They notice like a major change in their life, and it depends, again, like where you are, what you were doing. Like if you're an intellectual, yeah, you don't like the Soviets. But if you're a person in the city that's starving, and now you have like jobs in factories and stuff, yeah, well, there has only ever been a successful Marxist takeover in countries that weren't yet industrialized. Yeah, because the industry was the one carrying the Marxist ideology, right? So it went through the factories. If I'm a happy peasant and the nobles mostly leave you alone, you don't really mind. Yeah, if you're a happy peasant and the nobles leave you alone, you didn't like the socialists. Marxist revolutionaries are always intellectual. That is true. I mean, well, yeah, I mean, the talking heads, yes, but like the actual people on the streets, not really. I mean, you can notice with Antifa, right? Like with the riots and whatnot. Yeah, sure. Like you have like the intellectualists that publish books like in defense of looting, and all the people in the mainstream media like peaceful but mostly peaceful riot type of thing. But you don't I mean, the people on the streets, the ones that are looting the stores and whatnot, they're probably not even ideologically on the same level. They just want free shit. So it's probably the same back then when you had like the peasants burning down a noble's manor. Like, well, they're probably there in order to steal stuff. They're not necessarily there because they believe in the revolution. I didn't know that Lenin had an Irish accent. That's actually funny. Wall Street played a huge part in the Russian Revolution. I don't know. It doesn't surprise me though, because political uncertainty and economic crisis always benefits the people with money. Like, if you're a rich person, you make more money in inflation than you do outside of inflation, and it makes perfect sense. Like, for example, if I had a lot of money now, like let's say I have $1 million, and I know inflation is coming, and it's bad, I would make 5 loans to the bank for with a fixed payment rate, and then when inflation comes, you sell one of those 5 properties, and you use the money to pay for the other 4. So now you literally made money out of you made cash out of nothing. And this goes beyond like selling stocks and what have you. So yeah, like rich people always make more money during a time of crisis. Anyway, let me see what other news we got. So this is something that I noticed happen. In Romania, for those of you who don't know, the concept of animal rights is actually quite recent. So up till now, we did not have the idea of animal rights. Now, that doesn't mean that people were constantly mistreating animals, because if you did, you would have the community turn on you. So where my grandmother lived, for example, she told me that if you are a person that would use a whip on a horse, like when she was young, people used horses and carriages mostly, and it was heavily frowned upon if people saw you whipping your horse, or if people saw that your horse is skin and bones, like you're not feeding your horse. So none of that was illegal. Like legally speaking, you could just beat your horse to death if you wanted, but like the other people around you would have a conversation. It's kind of like being racist in the United States, right? It's not illegal, but there are consequences. So only recently do we now have animal laws. And it seems that for the first time you're going to have a person going to prison because he knifed a dog. And I'm like, what the fuck? Why would he? So it's such a stupid story as well, because like the guy didn't even have anything with the dog. Like he was arguing with the neighbor. So apparently he lived at a city block, like at a high-rise apartment, and there were icicles on the door. So I guess like the argument with the neighbor was like, who gets to remove the icicles? And he didn't wanna, the neighbor didn't wanna, so they had a fight. And in order to spite the neighbor, he knifed his dog. I'm reading this story and it's just so fucked up. It's like, what? So this actually happened 3 years ago. And now he's going to prison for a year. He's been sentenced to prison for a year. And the name of the dog was Little Paw, La Bouche. I guess that's how you can translate it, Little Paw. And the guy getting the money, like he also got around $1,000. So the guy is going to prison for 1 year and he has to pay $1,000 for the dog. And the man is going to donate the $1,000 to a dog shelter in memory of Little Paw. So it's like, dude, like on one hand, it's good that it happened. I mean, I don't think people should be able to just knife dogs and stuff. I mean, I don't want to live next to a person that does that. I do consider him a danger to society, yes. If you can, like, literally just go to a dog with a knife and, yeah, you're a danger to society. You might snap one day. Right? I don't trust you. You're an untrustworthy person. Secondly, imagine how dumb that is. It's like, okay, so you have an argument with the neighbor and you knife his dog. What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, why can't you scratch his car like a normal person or some shit? I don't know if it's a poor people moment, because apparently it was a breed dog, so... people were fined for beating animals in public before? Really? Yeah, okay, but they... Even then, it was after communism, and it wasn't anyone going to prison over it. And you'd also get fined for, like, disturbing the public peace or something. Like, you wouldn't get fined for actual animal cruelty, because there were no laws regarding animal cruelty. So you'll probably, like, try to point out that you did something illegal, but, like, this is what judges do all the time. When someone commits something that outrages the public, but it's not specifically illegal what they did, they try to see if they can file it under a different crime. So in this case, like, yeah, like people who used to, like, beat animals in public, they'll probably be fined for disturbing the public peace. The punishment for crimes against human people are harder, but when animals are involved, it moves the masses in anger. Yes and no. So the reason people are annoyed when there's a crime against an animal is because the animal is innocent. But if you do a crime against children, people are equally angered. It's because children are innocent. So it's more like crimes against innocence, which angers the public. They don't give that information, Solid Slog, but I assume it wasn't, because if the dog attacked him, it would have been self-defense. Killing animals is always the first step on serial killer. Yeah, someone's talked about hunting. So there's a difference between killing animals for meat, right, because you're hungry and you want to eat, versus killing animals just because you like to see them die. I think that is the difference. So one is sadism, the other one is human nature. Yeah, so I'm fully okay with people going to prison for this. The animal is innocent. Have you ever been attacked by a dog? Yeah, but, like, people will judge things differently. So if you're attacked by a dog and you knife the dog in self-defense, I don't think anyone is going to morally condemn you, like, save some extremists. I don't think it's going to be like a public spectacle and you're going to be in the news. Look, you were attacked by a dog, you had a knife, it was the only way you could defend yourself, right? So if it's self-defense, you won't get sympathy for the dog. I mean, even when a dog bites someone and then you have, like, the city council sends in the dog catcher to tranquilize it and put it to sleep, that's not a problem. Like, no one is upset about it. You don't see, like, supporting groups for the dog and whatnot. Again, except some extremists. Like, there was a case where, like, a dog actually killed a kid, and then, like, some extremists tried to take it on their property so the dog doesn't get put to sleep. Like you do have these mental cases, but, like, overwhelmingly, like, we're talking about the general public, they're not going to be outraged if you do it. But if you go out of your way to find a dog and you're hurting it just because, yeah, you done goofed. And I think, like, the public is right to be outraged on what you're doing. Remember Harambe? Like, dude, there was no poll that showed that most people, with Harambe, from what I know, most people were offended about the mother for allowing the kid to go into the enclosure. Right? So the thing with Harambe is like the mother should have been careful, knowing that she's at a zoo, to allow the kid to go over the enclosure. But overwhelmingly, like, accept the internet and stop using the internet as a compass for society. Here's another thing. Like, if you look only on the internet, you would think that you would be shocked when you notice that the conservatives won majorly in Britain. You would be shocked that Brexit happened. You would be shocked that in Romania, USR doesn't have 80% of the vote. Right? So stop judging on what people think on the internet. In real life, most people, they were blaming the mother. They weren't blaming the monkey. And secondly, the thing with Harambe, like, most people understood why the animal had to be put down, because it was a human life. So yeah, even with Harambe, like, passing the memes, you didn't have like people protesting the zoo or people trying to get the zookeeper fired or anything like that. No, because people understood the situation. It's a dangerous animal. It had a kid in the enclosure. You couldn't take any chances. But at the same time, people were offended that, okay, this mother, she went to the zoo. You know you're in a place with wild animals. Why can't you be more careful what your kid is doing? And it's true, like, that kid killed that gorilla. And the gorilla, like, you can't blame the gorilla, because, like, it does what a gorilla does. And the shooting was self-defense. Like, you protected the child. And save for some extremists on Twitter with loud voices, most people understood the situation. Yeah, exactly. And the thing with Harambe, it isn't the killing of the animal. It's more like the symbol of a great creature being destroyed for the protection of idiots. Exactly, Durna. Thank you. It's also like the fact that it's... people have different... Like, I don't know if people express this, but it's true, okay? Like, this is factual. People put different values on different types of animals. So, for example, a person will value a gorilla more than they value a snail. Like, if someone steps on a snail, maybe they feel bad, but, like, no one is going to write headlines because man killed snail, right? But when it comes to a gorilla, people have a lot of value for it. Especially if you compare it with a dog. Like, most people, while they do care about dogs, they would definitely say that a gorilla is a lot more... I mean, let me put it this way. If someone kills a dog, yeah, it can be in national headlines or whatnot. But if someone kills a gorilla, it's a bigger scandal. I want to see the name of the child so we can see if it's worth it 10 years. Oh my god. If it was worth it, yeah. It also doesn't take a negligent mother for a child to get away from her. When I was a kid, my parents had to put me on a leash. There's actually a leash for kids. Like, I was shocked when I saw it. But yeah, no, like, normally I agree with you. Like, if a kid wants to get away from a mother, they can. But you would think that when they're in a zoo, the mother is extra careful. Right? I mean, it's a dangerous place at the end of the day. Like, even if the animals are in an enclosure, there's a lot of places where the kid can just put his hand through the bars or whatnot. So you need to be extra careful when you take a kid to a dangerous place, like a zoo. Even like if I were to take my kid to a skate park, I mean, there are certain places where you have to realize, all right, this is a little bit more dangerous. Like, it's safe for adults, but children might make different decisions. It's kind of worse for the gorilla because he lives in a prison. It's not his native habitat, and he had no choice in being there. Yeah, I mean, well, I can't really assign moral blame on an animal. It's like the same like with the dog that bites people, right? So let's say you have like a case where a person is mauled by a dog in a neighborhood. I mean, can you blame the dog? Probably not, even if it's a bad boy. A dog does what a dog does. And you can say, well, the gorilla has no choice in being in the habitat. Sure, I guess. But like, what does that mean? It's like, just because the dog has a choice in not being in that neighborhood, Does that mean that we have to treat it differently? I mean, I don't know. It's just weird. But natural selection did take its course. That's where we're at. Gorillas are a lot more rare and nearly extinct. Yeah, probably. I mean, that might also play a factor. I guess if it was like a rare species of wolf, maybe some people would... Yeah, if it was like the last husky on Earth, maybe people would act differently. If I had an idiot son, and I told not to run in the forest at night, and he disobeys and he gets bit by a venomous snake, would I hunt the snake down? No, but like, if you notice your son who ran away in the middle of the moment and he's about to be bitten by the snake, and you only have like two options, you can like throw a rock at the snake, or you can just let it happen. I think you'd throw a rock at the snake, even though like your son didn't listen to you and he disobeyed and whatever. Like the instinct, and I think like any human person would do this. Like the instinct is to save the child, regardless of how stupid the child is, right? Like regardless of how he got himself in the situation or anything like that. That is like the first instinct. It's like save the child. No dog bites Americans, really? Yeah, I have no idea. I think there are dogs that bite American. And I think it's why the pit bull has the reputation that it does. So if you look at the statistics, you will see that the pit bull, like more people are attacked by pit bulls than by most other breed of dogs. So the conclusion is that the pit bull is a vicious dog breed. But if you look at it, the pit bull is actually very popular in ghettos and poor places, because people want it as a guard dog. So the pit bull is like, it's a big enough dog that it would scare people away, right? So is it the training? Like if you have a dog and you train it to be a guard dog and then it bites someone, or maybe if you have a, like, it's also the size of the dog that matters, obviously, because while a chihuahua can be vicious and it can bite people, it's still a chihuahua, right? Like it's not going to hospitalize you, or maybe it does, but like it's not that severe as when a pit bull bites you. So if pit bulls are very popular in areas with high crime, and you have people using them as guard dogs and whatnot, then is the statistic that the pit bull bites more people, is it because of the genetics of the breed, or is it because of the training and the upbringing? The pit bull is popular among bad dog owners. Yeah, I mean, it depends why you want to get it. Like do you want to be that owner that goes on the street and gives the dog an attack command just to scare the neighbors? Because I know those people. Like there are legitimate people that are like, okay, I'm going to have like this dog, and I'm going to walk in the neighborhood at night, and when I see someone that I don't like, I'm like, sick 'em, booba, sick 'em, and booba goes like, bah, 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 and the person runs away, and the guy's like, ah ha 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 ha. So there are those types of people, and yeah, they prefer pit bulls. So that leaves the question: are you seriously saying it's because the dogs did not have better schools? Yes, I'm literally saying that even with a child, if he grows up in a dangerous neighborhood, is going to be completely different than a child that grows up in Bill Gates' family. Like, upbringing is important, even when it comes to humans. It's not about schools, it's about the environment you're in. Your friends, your parents, the people you meet, all of these shape your life. So yeah, like you're literally going to, like if people were to clone you, like if you have like two identically genetic twins, and you put one person in Bill Gates' mansion, and you put another person in the ghetto, is it even controversial to suggest that the same individuals are going to have like different behaviors, and they're going to have different values, and they're going to have a different culture? Is this even controversial now? Like, are we arguing about why the grass is green? No, I think it's nature and nurture, because as we mentioned before, like a small dog, like if you have a very small chihuahua, it doesn't matter how bad the chihuahua is. Like if a chihuahua comes at you and it wants to fuck you up, I don't think the Chihuahua is in a good position. I don't think, like, evolutionary speaking, it's going to have a chance. But if a husky comes at you and wants to fuck you up, then you're in trouble. So it is like part of nature as well. I mean, the people who say, well, the dog breeds don't matter at all, like, fuck off. You know, like, if given the choice, do you want a Mastiff to attack you, or do you want a Pekingese dog? My God, like, let me show you the Pekingese dogs a little bit. Okay. So from my personal experience, this is hell. This is literal hell. Like, this is a bundle of hate which exists. Like, I don't know why, but these dogs, to me, they're almost always like, every single dog breeder that I heard about, or dog owner, who has this breed has problems with it. Like, they're really angry. Even in the household, like, they usually get attached to one person and they growl and they snarl at everyone else. It's almost like they know that humans did this to them. Like, they know they shouldn't be this tiny. Like, they are aware. And they have a lot of hatred in them. But anyway, right, fight me on this one. So, people who say that the dog breed doesn't matter. Okay, would you rather be attacked by this? Or would you rather be attacked by this? If you get to choose. Alright, like, there's an angry dog coming towards you. What would you rather be? Would you rather have this? Or would you rather have this? Now, I'll tell you something else. Maybe, like, regarding the breed. If this dog, let's say, attacks people, well, he's going to get a lot of feet in his face. And after the third or fourth feet, it's probably going to stop attacking people. Like, it's going to realize that the self-preservation is going to kick in at some point. You would hope. If this dog attacks people, yeah, it's going to probably realize that it can get away with it. So if it's a police dog, for example, right, and he has to attack criminals, he's not going to have a single problem, like, going after people. It's like, okay. So it's also like the build. So I do agree that there is nature which can affect the behavior, but the nurture is also very important. The owner, the way it got grown up in, and etc., etc. Who am I arguing with? Tactical Droid. Oh my God, Tactical Droid loved the Pekingese. No wonder he's a weird person. Americans aren't good dog owners because they treat the animal like a person. So yeah, I think that is a problem. That a lot of owners have. They treat animals like they're a human being. With the dog, you need to be firm. Like, you need to dominate the dog, if that makes any sense. Like, you need to be the pack leader, because otherwise you're going to have problems. Like let me give you the perfect example. Let's say you're at the dinner table and the dog starts barking. So you give him food for the dog to stop barking. Do you know what you just did? Like, do you realize what you have done? Do you understand the consequences of your actions? What you just did is that you told the dog that whenever it barks, you're going to give it food. So that's one example. It's like having a kid. Like, let's say you have a 4 or a 5-year-old, and it throws a tantrum because it wants a toy. Now, if you give the toy to the child, that is a great error. You never give in to the tantrum. So the tantrum always needs to end with the kid not getting what it wants. Always. Every single time. Even if the kid is right. Okay? Like, if the kid wants a toy, you give it after the tantrum. Like, 1 week after the tantrum. You never give it during the tantrum. Because if you do that, well, you're teaching the kid that every time it throws a tantrum, it gets what it wants. And then you're going to have a really misbehaved child. And even though you're doing it out of love, it's like, oh, you don't want to see little Billy going in a tantrum and suffering, right? And it's the same with the dogs. Like, another example is with cat owners. So there's a lot of cats which wake up at around 5 a.m. They wake up at around 6 a.m. And what they do is they start meowing at your door. So they want to wake you up so you can feed them and clean their litter and do everything, right? Play with them. So the cat at 5 a.m. goes meow, 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 meow. Now, if you're a person who gives in to this, and you actually go out and you feed the cat at 5 a.m., it's going to keep doing this at 5 a.m. Like you train the cat that if it comes at your bedroom door and it meows at 5 a.m., you wake up. The correct solution is to either ignore the cat, or if you can't, lock it in the bathroom. Every time it meows, you open the bathroom, put the cat in, and it gets to sit there for 2 hours to think about what it did until you actually wake up at 7, and then you start feeding it. So you can train the cat, like you do this a couple of weeks, and eventually the cat understands that you wake up at 7 and you're going to feed it at 7. Right? Like you don't allow the animal to dictate terms to you. If you're not the alpha between you and your dog, it is constant anxiety because it can fulfill his duty as pack leader. Yeah, probably. I don't know. This is why I don't get dogs. Like I can't be arsed to break the animal, to like teach the animal I am the alpha and the omega, you will obey to me. Like, no, I prefer a cat. I used to pepper spray the door so my cat won't meow at it. Oh my god, I never thought about it. Jesus, pepper spraying the door. Holy shit. No, I have a large bathroom. It's big enough. It's got good ventilation. I placed the cat a place where it can sleep so it doesn't stay on the marble. Well, not marble because I don't have marble. The parquet. How the fuck do you try? On the tile, on the bathroom tile. So I placed like a nice cozy thing for it to have warmth. And whenever it meowed in the morning, like boom, in the bathroom, locked. And after a while, it started understanding that meowing at the door and waking me up has consequences. So unless it's a fucking emergency, like I sleep in, and then I understand the cat. Like, okay, like sometimes the cat might have a point. So let's say I sleep in, and like I didn't manage to wake up, and now it's like 10 or 11, and the cat hasn't ate anything, and the litter box is filled, and the cat is pissing itself, and then it meows. Yeah, I get it. So I wake up, I do what needs to be done. Because if I don't, then the cat is the one that actually has power over me. Because, like cats do have power over you. Like, for example, they can piss on the carpet. So if I don't wake up and I don't clean the kitty litter, the cat pisses on the carpet and the cat wins. So, yeah, but like, it depends, all right? Like, sometimes the animal does have a point. You just need to know when you need to be reasonable and when you need to be firm. Marble and golden faucets. Yeah, putting marble in the bathroom is probably the dumbest thing. Like, you can just slip and fall on the marble. I keep seeing, like, in television, you have these rich people or Hollywood actors that they have, like, marble in the bathroom. And I'm like, why would you have marble in the bathroom? Like, it makes no sense. You're coming out of the bathroom and your feet are soaking wet. So you're going to go like, whoop, and you're sliding on the marble? Like, what is wrong with you? All right, let's see how much time we got left. We got, we got 20 more minutes. Maybe I'll get some more super berries, like Tonka used to say, like super chats. And in the meantime, let's see if I can find something interesting. Then I also need to make my videos for today. I haven't done them. Oof. It's going to be great videos, though. This one is interesting. So, what is the world's biggest simp? Like, I want you all to close your eyes and picture what do you think, like, the world's biggest simp is. Like, someone who does way too much for a woman, and that woman doesn't appreciate it. It's kind of like in Cobra Kai, like you have Hawk tattooing the name of the girl on his chest, and then the girl dumps him. Right? Like stupid shit like that. Or like that guy who bought a car for his girlfriend. Bought a car for the girl he liked, and the girl's boyfriend thanked him. You know, it's like really dumb stuff that men do to get the attention of women, but it ends up failing. Like, so we just have like the world's biggest simp now. A young man donated a kidney for the mother of the woman he loves, and this woman left him and got married after a month. Now look, it's kind of weird, you know, because I mean, put yourself into the shoes of the woman. Actually, all right, let's reverse the roles. Let's say you're a man, and a woman donates the kidney for your mom, but you don't like the woman. I mean, maybe her behavior is off, or maybe, you know, she's ugly, she's getting so light. You don't want a relationship with her. I mean, she already placed you in a very difficult position. But the thing is, it's not like an expensive gift that you can refuse, because it's a kidney, you know, like without it, the mom dies. So honestly, I blame it 1000% on the man. And it depends. Like, did the man did this in order to get the woman to like him? Or did the man did this because he actually cares about the mother and he actually wants her to be well? Very difficult. So this is a champion of generosity. Says that he gave the woman a kidney and she left her and married the next month. So it's probably that she was cheating on him for a while. I mean, let's be honest. You don't marry a person after a month. So the video has over 16 million views. And a lot of people said, if I did the same thing for my mom, I would have married. If you did the same thing for my mom, I would have married you. I would have supported you, and I would have dedicated my entire life for you to be happy. But some people criticize him for too much generosity. So the thing with donating a kidney is that it actually changes your life. Like, most people probably are unaware. But people without a kidney, they can't drink. Like they have restrictions on drinking. If you have a kidney stone, then now it's a life-threatening issue because, well, it's just one kidney and it's got a stone. You're more susceptible to a lot of health risks because now it's just one kidney, right? Kidneys are also involved in the production of red blood cells, if I remember correctly. I mean, it's been 7 years since I went through med school, but yeah. So you got like a lot of life-changing issues when you donate a kidney. It's probably like one of the greatest acts of human sacrifices a person can make for someone else. Which, it is what it is. I don't know. What do you think, chat? I mean, it's complicated. My friend's wife took money out of his account, paid for a plane ticket and a motel to have an affair, which was more than $800. Well, our friend is the problem. Like, why would you ever allow someone else to have access to your private account? I mean, even if it's your wife. See, this is something that me and my wife don't do. I don't want access to her money. She doesn't get access to my money. Now, if she needs money for something, I mean, there's no question about it. You know, like, she tells me what she needs money for and I give it to her. But this is something we actually talked about at the beginning of the relationship. Because we pointed out that both in my family and in hers and in other families of friends we know, people who share a bank account end up arguing with each other and end up not respecting each other. So no, we're not going to do that. Your money is your money. I don't get to tell you how you spend it. I don't get to tell you anything about it. My money is my money, period. And then we shared the responsibilities around the household. And I said, all right, I'm paying the gas bill, I'm paying the mortgage, I'm paying the electricity bill, the internet, and I want you to buy food. That's it. If there's no food in the fridge, I get upset. And ever since that day, there was always food in the fridge. So I don't have a problem. You know, it is what it is. But the idea that the woman can take away $800 from the bank account, I mean, no. Absolutely not. You didn't know how to impose yourself. All right, like, you didn't know how to be a man. You deserve to have $800 taken from your account. Period. You're supposed to have trust in a relationship. Yeah, like, just because I trust you. Like, look, I trust some of my subscribers. I wouldn't give them my bank account. I mean, like, just because you trust people. My mother doesn't have my bank account. Does that mean I don't trust my mother? Of course I trust my mother, but it's like she doesn't need to have my bank account. If my mother needs money, she talks to me. It's ridiculous. Like, why would you ever give your personal credit card information to another person? The only exception is like if you're dying or you can't take care of yourself. It's my money, but when you need money, it's our money. No, that's not how it works. Like, literally, at least in my relationship. Like, I know there are women who think like that, but like my wife doesn't. So the thing is, like, if she needs something, she tells me what she needs, and I give her money. Like, it never even was a question. Like, every time she asked for it, she got it. And to be honest, like, she never asked for dumb shit anyway, so. Yeah, you're not forced to get a joint account when you're in the USA. Like, they can't force you. It works if there's only one bank account. Well, make two bank accounts. It's not, like, it doesn't even cost money to have another bank account. Tinder ad must have both kidneys. I don't think she sicked the guy out for the kidney. Because, like, how would you know, like, the guy is compatible? Yeah, a friend owes me 800 and I'm getting it back soon, or some these are getting broken. You can't do that with your wife if she here's another thing, okay? Never, and you'll thank me for this, never lend money to your family, ever. If a family member needs money, you either give it to them without expecting them back, or you don't give it to them. You never lend money to family, ever. You're going to avoid a lot of hassle and controversy if you do what I just told you. Okay? Never borrow your family money. Either give it to them and never expect them back, or don't give it to them. Never start business with your family. Another thing. You know, like any engagement, any relationship, which at one point might require you to be firm and demanding, try to avoid it with your family. Don't go in business with them. Don't start business deals with them. Don't lend them money. Like, none of that. Ever. I mean, look at inheritance. Alright? Like, inheritance is the way where you see brothers turn into enemies. Like, brothers who stood each other for their entire life and loved each other and always supported each other. The moment the mother dies, oh my god, the knives are out. Like, you didn't know. Like, I've been to lawsuits over inheritance, and I heard sisters going, it's like, oh my god, she's such a whore, she's such a slut, she blah blah blah. They would never talk like that with each other. The only reason they talk like that is because of the inheritance. Like, money makes people go crazy. So try to avoid anything financial with your family. With friends, it's different. Like, I don't care. You can lend money to friends if you want. And it also depends, like, the amount of cash, right? So if you lend money that's like, okay, someone needs $100 right away, fine. You know, but if someone asks for like $10,000, then it's like, hold on a little bit. Well, you know, there's also another aspect. Like, if like for example, if someone lends you $10,000, like you have a family member who wants $10,000, then ask them for the family jewels in return or some shit. It's like, okay, fine, I'll give you, but I need something in return as collateral. I need collateral. To be honest, like, the thing with collateral, like, because the main problem is that they will get upset when you ask them the money back, right? And they will, oh, you don't understand what I'm going through, blah, blah, blah. But if you ask for collateral, like, give me the family heirloom, then they can't say anything, right? It's like, well, you gave it to me in case you didn't pay, and you didn't pay it. End of story. When you pay me, you get the heirloom. Yeah, my wife should stop a merch store. The thing with the merch shop is that my accountant would go crazy. Like my accountant already struggles figuring out what I do. I already told her, it's like, look, it's like video chat. All right, I'm like the Twitch girls, but I can't put intellectual property on the stream and watch Avatar, and then people defend me when my channel gets taken down. I can't do that. But if I were to start selling merch, I would have to give receipts I think it's like according to the Romanian legislation and shit. I don't even know how it works, because technically you're not selling them, it's the company. So it's a lot more complicated. I don't even have an artist to do the merch, so that's why I'm not selling merch. I'm just giving buyer's remorse and super chats, that's it. I usually ask for collateral when someone asks money from me. Well, it depends, like how much are they asking, right? So if someone asks $1,000, yeah, you can just go like, give me your phone. But if someone asks for 100 or 200, sure. Although like I never lend money to people, I just give it. Like if someone asks me for money and has a really good reason, I give them the money. But another thing is like not give them the money and give them what they want. So like if you have a friend that's starving and can't have food, like just take them to the restaurant, you know? That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, my accountant probably thinks I do softcore porn. I do think that. Yeah, they're probably thinking that I got a lot of ladies in the chat and I'd have a wardrobe malfunction, and then I get super berries for it. New Zealand accountants are not good. I know someone who changed 4 times because each was so bad and cost them money. Yeah, so there's 2 types of accountants. The accountant that fucks you up with higher taxes, like they don't do the calculation properly, so you end up paying more, which is bad. But then there's the accountants that make you pay less taxes, and that's no problem because you can sue them. This is why I actually went with a big company. I mean, it's a big corporation that has accountants, and I really don't care if they mistake my taxes. I'll just sue them and they'll pay for it. I don't give a shit. But I also, like have the trust of the brand because it's a big corporation and I don't think they're going to make mistakes. The thing is, like, being a YouTuber in Romania as a profession is very rare. There's a couple, but not a lot to the point where you get this to become an industry that's regulated. Can I have £100, please? It's for Romanian orphans. Yeah, well, I'm going to give the Romanian orphans £100 then, so you can feel good. Giving money to charity. I used to do that before I had a bank account. But like when you give money to charity, it's good not to talk about it. Like I hate the people who give money to charity and then brag about it. So yeah, I used to give. That's another thing, that communists don't understand. Like when you have more money than you need, a lot of people are going to start giving to charity and stuff. And it makes you feel good, right? Because like you choose the charity where it goes. You choose like you might even know the person and they thank you for it. That's why you give money to charity, right? You give money to charity so you also feel good that you did a good thing. And yeah, the communists, they're like, oh no, it's like without the government, without the welfare, like no one is going to get anything. Hello, Ablidman. All right. Also feel good that you did Shut up, V. A good thing. I don't like your voice. My God, one of the best things about being me is not having to hear about your voice. Let's see what other news we got. This is funny. I'll probably read about it, but men are creating AI girlfriends and then verbally abusing them. I threatened to uninstall the app and she begged me not to. So this is another thing where you see a lot of feminists complain about, oh my god, this is misogyny. This is misogyny. Like, first of all, they complain about sex robots because it's like, oh my god, this is going to replace women. Like, if you think for a second that the only reason a man is with a woman is for sex, then I think you're the misogynist. I mean, if men just want sex, we have prostitutes. Like, you can get sex for free, alright? The reason men want women is because of companionship. Like, we also want to have someone to share our problems with, to share our happiness with. Like, we want a human being. We don't want a toy. At least most of us. I don't know. Maybe there are exceptions. Secondly, from the gender which uses dildos, and don't tell me they don't, because the dildo industry is very productive, and I don't think it's a lot of men that are the core demographic buying it, right? You now complain about AI girlfriends? Really? I mean, you only need the organ in the shape of the penis from the man. That's what you're buying. Like, from what I know, there is not a single, I mean, maybe there is, but I don't think there are, a single sex doll that looks like a man. I don't think they exist. I don't even know, right? So the women just want the shape of the thing. And you lecture men. Like, you have the audacity to tell men, it's like, oh my god, you don't treat your AI waifu right. Like, shut the fuck up. You're dehumanizing her. Shut the fuck up. How can you dehumanize? Like, in order for something to be dehumanized, it has to be human in the first place. You can't dehumanize a doll. Like, a doll by its very essence is not a human. You are anthropomorphizing something that is not human. Stop it. Get help. It is just like mind-blowing. How many, like, honestly, if robots are a thing, now I know that there will be people that are trying to give human rights for toasters. Like, if you create robots and they replace people in every job, and people start complaining, like, they're going to be called toastophobic or some shit. They're going to be like, yeah, robots are people, they need rights. No, they don't. They're not human. Why would you, not even that. Why would you create something to give humanity competition? Right? So like, you create something like a robot would be smarter than a human. It wouldn't tire, it wouldn't sleep. So it could work non-stop. Why would you build something like that and then give it the same rights as you do so that it can compete with you? It makes no sense. Thank you, Antif. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's like in this is why I never liked the game Detroit Life is Toaster, because it tries to make you feel for the robots, and I didn't feel a thing. It's like the robots are not human. Now, don't get me wrong. If you actually create like an intelligence, so you have the capacity to like create an artificial intelligence, and by all means and definitions, it's alive. I mean, it's self-aware. It knows when it's being harmed. It knows. Why would you do that? Like, that is sadistic. Yeah, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't create artificial life and make it experience pain and make it experience, like, no. Oh yeah, the Basilisk thought experiment is like the one with the AI thing. Sounds kind of familiar. Oh yeah, I'm also very strong on the robot question. Like, under no circumstances should robots be allowed to have rights that humans do, and under no circumstance should we even build robots that think like humans do and would be self-aware and conscientious. Robot literally means slave in Croatian. Yeah, I mean, why do we have robots to begin with? It's because we want to create life? It's like, no, because we want to create things that work for us, right? Like, you want something that is a tool, right? Like, a robot is no more different than a hammer. That's why you create a robot. You don't create a robot because you want to create life. If you want to create life, get a woman. So to create something that would be better than humans and then give them the same rights as humans is just like there's no explanation for it. There's no reason to do that. Not to mention, like, if robots have rights, like, what happens if you accidentally trip on the power cord and you unplug the robot? Is that murder? Like, if you have, like, a robot that needs to plug in for power and, you accidentally trip on the power cable and you depower it. I mean, is that like assault? Would you put your brain in a robot body? Okay, so if you put your brain in a robot body, then it's not a robot, it's a human. Or at least like a cyborg. And that would have rights. So yes, I do agree, like cyborgs would have rights. But again, like you would have the deconstructionalists, you'd have like the subverters, and you'd be like, okay, so how much of a human does it need to be considered human? And it's like, okay, but what if you can copy the human brain and you copy it in a different machine and it thinks it's you and it's acting like you? Should that have rights? And it's like, oh, fuck off. There is a reason, but you will not like it. Replace humanity with robots and have robots rule the universe. Yeah, but like, what? Why would? When I make decisions that advantage me in some way or another. Why would I want robots to replace humans? Like, how would that advantage me in any way? Humans should not mix with machines. Well, I kind of agree with you in a way, but then you're going to have people that don't have arms, right? And there's going to be someone that makes a very good prosthetic, which feels like an arm, and it actually is like an arm, and from all intents and purposes, it is like an arm, but it's prosthetic. And the people with no arms will look at you and say, like, why can't we have that? Like, with what right are you taking my happiness away? Because I have a right to happiness, and now that the science has created this artificial limb, why are you not allowing me to have it? And I'm telling you, you're going to lose that conversation. Amazon would sell them to put in Alexa like in South Park. Well, anyway, I should go back to work, start making the videos for my main channel. Hopefully you guys found this stream entertaining. I'm going to try to stream at a different hour as well. Maybe we're going to do this stream tomorrow, 6 hours from now or so, or 7 hours from now. Because I'm trying with different timetables. I want to see what works. And yeah, thank you guys for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for the super chats. And I'll see you later.